What is your purpose here on earth? What is your soul asking you to do and live? And how does depression dovetail with all of that? Today on Elevate, Kristin, Mismash, and I are going to discuss that and more. Stay tuned. Welcome to Elevate, the awareness shift, waking the quantum self. I'm KAren Swain, your host, and you're listening on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM, syndicated radio all over the world. Hello, beautiful people. So great to be with you again. And the gorgeous Kristin, Miss Mash, is with me. Welcome, Kristin.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'm your host, KAren Swain, and I'm the host of ATP Media, Accentuate the Positive Media. We do that on a Sunday evening, afternoon in the States, Monday morning down under. And we've been doing this Elevate show. I think this is the 9th week, actually, 9 weeks.
Already?
So it's a new show. Yeah, it goes quickly, doesn't it? Caroline, Ida Roller, and Kristin join me sometimes, but Caroline's busy at the moment, so she's not coming on. She's got a lot on her plate, actually, because she also does 2 shows. Maybe she'll come on another time. But yeah, I invite friends. I've got somebody else, another friend coming on, not next week, the week after. Yeah, I just invite people to come on. We have a bit of a chat about this, that, and the other. On that show, why have I gone blank on her name? It'll come to me in a minute. We're going to talk about collapsing timelines. And I'm like, ooh, that's a good topic. I know I said to her, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about collapsing timelines. But today we're talking about purpose, soul plan, and depression. It came up because of the conversation I had. Did you hear the conversation I had with Brandon Thomas last week or this week?
I didn't get to. I started it, but I've just been busy myself, so I wanted to.
Well, we talked about his, hey, Kat, how are you, darling one? We talked about his dark night of the soul, and I asked him a question, like, what are the thoughts that when you're, because he said to me over a year ago, a couple of years ago when he was on the show, he was talking to me about his dark night of the soul, and he was saying it was so bad, it was so bad, it was so bad, yet like this depression. He said, I was eyeing the gun. I've never heard anyone say I was eyeing the gun, meaning I was really thinking about taking myself out of this matrix. And I asked him the question, what are the thoughts? Like, what thoughts? She says, yeah, everybody does, darling. I suffer from depression, but listen to your message to help me. Thanks, honey. Everyone does suffer from depression at some time or another. It's a bandwidth. It's a frequency on the emotional scale. It's just about the worst frequency on the emotional scale. And before we get to this beautiful planet, one where cruising around as souls in the other life. I won't call it the afterlife because it's the before life, the before and after and during life, the other life. We make a plan. What do I want to experience while I'm physically focused and bumping up against contrast and allowing myself to feel separate to my source? Like, what is my intention? What do I want to experience? What do I want to do while I'm down there? That we make a plan. And depression being the lowest form on the emotional scale, where you're eyeing the gun and saying, okay, I'm out of here, I don't want to be here anymore, is an indication that you're not on your soul plan. So your soul has a plan. When we talk about deliberate creation, often people argue with me and they say, if it was up to me, I would never have created some of the stuff that's happened in my life. So therefore, I'm a victim to what happens to me. I didn't create it. But on some level, the soul is choosing that experience. So the soul has the desire to go through that experience. And the soul is so we're creating from the level of soul, and we're also creating from the level of ego. So a lot of people can say, hey, Heidi, a lot of people can say, I want to be rich and famous and own a corporation and have lots of money. And I was talking to some friends last night about this. I was saying what we're going to discuss, talking about soul plan and depression. You see people like I was talking about last night, Lady Gaga or Madonna. people that have reached the pinnacle, the peak of success, all the things that we think we want in this life, like especially with Madonna and Lady Gaga, because they have explored creativity in ways that some of us could never do, like so bold and brave and out there,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and just having fun. And you couldn't imagine that these people could be depressed or upset in any way. Sure, they get angry, we all get angry, or get frustrated and all that sort of thing, but then they come out and they say, I've been depressed for years. And you go, what?
Yeah.
Like, you've got all the money in the world, all the success in the world. You've been free to explore creativity in ways, just the freedom to create in any way. Because to me, I think that that's something beautiful, to have that freedom to create anything you want
I
and
agree.
be,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
like the end all be all, right?
yeah. How could you be depressed? I remember years and years ago when I was young, there was a show called Marcus something MD. It was a show about a doctor.
Marcus Welby, MD.
MD.
Yes.
Okay, so that doctor, the actor that played that doctor,
Mm-hmm.
he had this really successful show. He was in everybody's households on a daily basis. He'd done many other things, but he was very famous for that show. I remember towards the end of his life, he's long gone now, he came out and said, I have been depressed my whole life. And I'm scratching my head going, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, you've become famous and you do something you love and you get paid very well and you've got a loving wife. Like, you've got everything that life tells us to have. Why are you depressed? So depression is not necessarily about the terrible things that happen to us, because I know that Kristin shared with me, it's okay if I talk about your kids?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, your husband left the planet, God, did you say 6 years ago now? I can't
It's
believe it seems
been
like
6 years. Uh-huh.
yeah, like it seems like yesterday. And they've not really been that happy since that happened. So they're pinpointing an event and they're using that event. Hello from Canada. Hey, Marcus Welby. Did you watch that show too, Shirley? They're pinpointing an event and making that the event the reason that I feel bad. But usually that's not the reason. It can start off a spiral. Like when I was talking to Brandon last week, I said, what were the thoughts that you were thinking? And he said there was just like this cascade of the thoughts, this spiraling out of control thoughts. So he didn't give me the thought themselves, but he was just saying that they were just cascading and spiraling. And how that's connected to your soul plan is that we come in with guidance. We have a plan. Our soul says, I'm going to create this in this lifetime, and I'm going to learn about this. I'm going to learn about love, and I'm going to learn about acceptance, and I'm going to learn about forgiveness, or I'm going to learn about helping others, or I'm going to learn about being a spiritual teacher, or I'm a volunteer, a starseed. I'm going to teach people about life across the cosmos. I'm going to do this. We have a plan.
Right.
And then we have this sat nav, this guidance outside of, okay, they're saying not outside, they're correcting me, not outside of, but included with the inspiration from our team, our spiritual teams, including our soul and our higher self, that is guiding us towards that plan, to staying on that path. And that's our emotional guidance system. So the happier and the more blissful you feel, the more ecstatic and joyful you feel, the more turned on, excited, lit up you feel. That's the guidance saying you are on the path that you said you came to do. You're on it. And the more awful you feel is your guidance feedback telling you you're off the path. So depression and purpose, or depression and being on your soul plan, are completely tied up together. So maybe you're rich and famous and doing what you love. I remember thinking about this when I was young, wanting to know who I am and what I'm doing here. And creativity was something that turned me on. I wanted to paint, I wanted to design, I wanted to make movies. I worked in the film industry. I wanted to cook. Like, creativity was my passion. I had a shop for a while. And it was interesting, when I had the shop, I was indulging a passion of mine for creativity and homewares and furniture and gifts. And I was completely bored.
Really?
Absolutely. Not bored all the time, because I was busy running a business, but I just never felt like it was it. Like I never felt like it was what I
So
was here to do, even though I was indulging a passion. Like I was enjoying buying the stuff and creating these little sort of mini, looks inside the shop. It was a really big shop. But when people said, "What do you do?" and I go, "I'm a retailer. I own a shop. I have a design shop. I'm a designer." Every time it flew out of my mouth, it was like, "That's not who you are.
Oh,
That's not who you are."
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can indulge a passion thinking that will bring you the joy that you're seeking, but is it your sole plan? So there's a lot of things that I have done and wanted to do in this lifetime. And, when I realized that I've got the guidance talking to me, the mob talking to me, when I asked them, like architecture is something that I've often said, next time I'm going to come in as an architect because I love architecture. And they said, "You've
Right.
already done that. You've already done that." So a lot of the things that you're passionate about in this lifetime could be something you've already done in a past life,
Mm-hmm.
and you will hold that it still excites you, but it's not necessarily the plan for this life.
Yeah, I can see that. I can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah. You're bringing me to question. So, um, because I can feel for myself that when I'm off track or off my plan, it's like, let's say my plan is a path. And when I'm off that path, I'm bumping up the sides of, the roadway or the wall if it's a hallway, and it hurts, right? So it can hurt my body and it can make me not feel great. And I do experience that. But then when I am doing something and I know that I'm doing something that I'm here to do or that is in alignment, I mean, I feel really good and I don't feel that physical ouch or pain or uncomfortableness. And so I can see that. And there is depression that's like situational depression. So I feel like my grief is a form of depression when it latches onto me from losing my husband. But I don't feel like I suffer from clinical depression like from birth, because I believe some people that could be something that they asked to be born with. And I do feel like some people have that. With my children, things that I know now that I thought were personality quirks when they were little, once their dad passed away, those things heightened. And then I realized, oh, those are forms of depression in a child. So I do think that there are different levels of it. And I think I get more situationally depressed, if you will. But I don't
Yeah.
suffer that major, thing. But then I also think about those fears that we talked about with the team books
Yeah.
and those vibrational spheres. And it's, am I going to latch onto that sphere today? How am I going
Right.
to detach from that? And then have I created, this big depression monster that I want to be with? No. So I do think of it more in those terms for
Yeah.
myself, you know.
Depression is always a story about self. It's
Okay.
never a story about what's happening in the world. You can be upset about what's happening in the world. Like I have a lot of Jewish people, friends in my community, and I was
Hmm.
hanging out with some people last night. And what happened 2 years ago on October 7th that continues to unfold across the world stage is something that
Yep.
they all get very upset about. They don't necessarily agree with, a lot of them are from Israel. They don't agree with what the government are doing in
Right.
Israel. And then they're getting a lot of pushback here, that a lot of anti-Semitic, and there's a lot of situational upset. But that's not depression. Like you can see atrocities across the world and you can be upset. But depression is always a story about me. It's like
Okay.
who I think I am. It's always I'm like I shared this with Brandon on the show this week. When I broke up with my second husband for the first time, we had a break. We had 8 years together. So after 4 years, we had a big fight and I told him to F off and he did. And so we broke up. And I went into this depression and I thought it was about him. I thought it was all about him and wanting him back. And so I was doing the work of Byron Katie on myself, judging my challenging my stressful thoughts. So my stressful thought was, I want my husband back and he's not coming back. Like, is it true? Do you really want? And it wasn't working on me, because that wasn't the thought that was depressing me. A friend of mine, I was living up on the Northern Beaches, like an hour away from where I grew up. And a friend came up to see me, and she never used to come up to see me because we get so damn lazy, don't we? People move an hour away and it's like you never see them again. So she came up to see me and we went for a walk. And I remember she said something to me. She's like, Swainy, you've been through so much trauma in your life. She said, Swainy, she calls me Swain. And she said, and you always know how to pull yourself out of it, but you're not pulling yourself out of this. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, this has really got me. But the thought was not, I want my husband back. The thought was, I'm a failure. And then that thought cascaded into, if I'm a failure, then I can't help anybody else. So my soul plan in this lifetime is to come in to be a teacher. When I was 12, a lady that was the nanny to my stepmom and dad read my palm and told me I was going to be a teacher. And I ran to my rooms crying and screaming because I thought that was the most depressing news. You could tell a dyslexic kid that she was going to be a teacher. But I soon realized what she meant many, many years later, not teaching math or spelling or geography, but teaching people to reconnect to their own power, empowering people more than teaching. Teacher is a generic word, but if I can't empower people, if I can't help people because I'm beating up on myself for being a failure, then I'm going directly against my soul plan, which said you're going to come in and do this. This is the plan, man. This is your purpose here on earth. And so that depression just gripped me. And then I did the work on that thought, I'm a failure. Is it true? And, can you absolutely know it's true? Who would you be without that thought? The work of Byron Katie. And it was like, it's not just because you break up with a relationship doesn't mean you're a failure. No, it means, like we talked about with Brandon, he says, don't use the word failure, use the word feedback. You're creating more feedback. Was that what it was? I'll have to listen back to the show. And it's like I'm learning from this. And the most powerful lesson from that breakup was exactly this. It was like finding the thought that is really the cause of your depression. Like, you can blame it on the death of a loved one. You can blame it on this. You can blame it on your husband leaving. You can blame it on having no money. You can blame it on being out of weight. You can blame it on, being sick. You can blame it on your circumstances of your life. But really, it's what are you telling yourself about yourself? So often when, here's one, especially for like when we talk about deliberate creation, we talk about, it's easy to be a creator. We just be happy. And then we're not happy. And now we're beating up on ourselves for not being happy. I should know better. I should be happy.
I was doing that to myself today. This morning I was. And my friend was laughing at me like, you know better, because he's a light worker too, right?
Right.
But anyway.
And then you say, I should know better. I should know better. And then you beat up your, I'm a failure. I'm not good at this. I should know better. I know better than this. So it's always depression. It's always about who you believe you are in that moment. Okay. Always. Like you're telling yourself a story. It's not, and the story so bumps up against the truth of who you are. You are infinite, genius, creative potential. You are infinite intelligence. You are an extension of source energy. You are God incarnate on earth, right? Yeah. So when you tell yourself you're anything less than that, then your guidance system says, not true, not true. Are you listening to what you're saying? Not true, not true. Listen to what you're thinking. Listen to what, and then it gets so loud that it's like depression and I'm on the gun because I want to get out of here. And so that desire to want to, unalive yourself, as some people say, I think it's hilarious. Censorship.
Well, because I think the censorship, kicks in there.
That desire to want to unalive yourself is actually the desire to want to return to love, because in your subconscious knowing, you know that when you do unalive yourself, you get out of the frequency that you've created and the vibrational sphere that you're tapped into. Like you drop all the negativity because you return to love, usually most people. And there's that inner knowing that, you know, wanting to unalive yourself will get you there. Now, something Kat said, I want to go back.
Yeah.
I agree lately. No, where is it? Where is it? Something Kat said. No, I've lost it. I realize that I don't need money. That's not it.
Is it that she'd rather spend my energy on love? Is that the...
I realize that I don't need money. I need love. That's it. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I realize I don't need money. I need love. I've been waiting for true love. I want to be loved before I die.
Uh-oh. Are you going to call her out on that one?
I'm going to call her out on
This is a big thing. Yeah, it is big.
This is what depresses a lot of people, feeling unloved. I was with a friend last night who's the most incredible light worker. She's a musician. She puts on festivals. She puts on events. She's like really active in the conscious community, but she's always in trauma. Like she's always in drama and always in trauma. And so she lives her life based on what she thinks she needs. And every time she speaks about her trauma, all I can hear is, will you love me? Like, will you love me? Will you love me? And if I tell you my trauma, will that create empathy between us, sympathy? Will that create connection? And will you like feel sorry for me and then reach out with your love for me? Like some people use that, right? They on a subconscious level, but that's what I hear almost every time she opens her mouth. And that needing love from others is such a trap because love doesn't come from other people. Love is who we are. Love is who we are. We are love. And when we seek it outside of ourselves, in the other, whether we're seeking it from the conversation we're having with someone by talking about our problems and feeling like they're going to love me because they're going to feel sympathy for me, or they're going to reach out and help me, or they're going to hug me, and then I'm receiving love. My first husband did this. He was sick a lot as a little kid, as a little baby. And his mother used to love him so much when he was sick. Oh, my poor baby. Oh, I love you. And like more love was heaped on him when he was sick. And so he grew up with this knowing that being sick gives you love. And so he was sick all the time. It's like, oh, my back, or my kidney problems, or my knee. And he was a young man, right?
Yeah.
And I was dating him, and he had all these contraptions. He had the pillow for the car for his sore back, and he had the thing that he wrapped around his kidneys to keep his kidneys warm, and the thing he wrapped around his knee, and then this and that. I had all these contraptions for all his ailments. And I was a young naturopathic student. And I said to him, I can't stand it. I'm breaking up with you. He's like, why? I said, you're such a hypochondriac.
Yeah. You know, my Reiki master, Debbie Straley, that you've had on your show a couple years ago, tells a story in the Reiki training similar to that as an illustration to us as, working in a healing modality, that it's up to the person on the table a lot of the time if they want to move through the healing. And there was a client that she had years ago that had some ailment. I don't remember what it was, but a chronic ailment. And she would get on the table and Debbie would channel the energy and the woman would walk away better. And she'd be back 4 to 6 weeks later with the same ailment. And what Debbie got to the bottom of was that this woman, when she was feeling good, her kids wouldn't check on her. You know, she was a grandmother, and when she was feeling good, her kids and grandkids wouldn't check in on her as much. And so it kept her out of loneliness, right? And so it's interesting that we are interpreting that type of attention for some form of love, but really it's that type of love, like, you're lesser than me, so I'm going to take care of you, and that's a negative vibration as well.
Yeah, it's an enabler.
Or I see you as lesser than me, so I'm going to take care of you.
Exactly.
You know, like,
exactly.
And so, yeah, it's a delicate dance.
I met Louise Hay when she was out here many years ago, who started Hay House. She was in her 80s then. It was towards the end of her life. And we were at a book launch, which I organized for Neil Donald Walsh at a bookshop in the city, in a big book, New Age bookshop in the city. And there was a lot of people, and it's not really set up for events. It's a bookshop, but they kind of cleared a little space where he could talk. And there was a lot of people standing around because there were no chairs or anything. Anyway, she was standing there, and somebody offered her a chair, and she said, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. These legs work. I can stand on them. And I remember, her that mindset of, don't look at me as old and like I need a chair. If I need a chair, I'll get a chair, but I don't need a chair just because I'm old. Like that mindset. She was always referring back to strength and happiness, and she was, she started all this deliberate creation stuff, but more so about personal, about self, like do the mirror work, look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. And getting back to Kat, well, I mean, I want a man, she says here.
Yeah, and Mish had some
It's
interesting things.
It's just so hard to find a good man. Where can I find a good man? Listen to what you're saying. Listen to what you're creating. It's just so hard to find a good man. So that's what you're creating. It's hard to find a good man. And also that love that you're wanting in the man, if you're looking for love outside yourself, you'll attract a man into your life that will also be looking for love outside himself. And that's where relationships go really pear-shaped because sometimes we're not giving people love. Like sometimes we're busy and frustrated and ornery, and the other person is like, you're not loving me. And then there's fights. When you completely love yourself, you can sit with and be with other people when they're not, loving themselves in that moment, because you're not needing that validation, that appreciation. You're not needing that love from them because it's coming from within yourself. And love is a feeling that you don't get when others love you. You get when you love them. You feel love when you give love. Like you feel love when you give love instead of needing someone to love you. I remember thinking about this again when I was young. I had a very gorgeous, tall, beautiful girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And she just had so many men that were just madly in love with her all the time. And she suffered depression. And I'm like, so many people are loving you, but you can't feel their love. You can't feel their love. Like everyone wanted to love her and be with her. Like she was so beautiful. Everyone was madly in love with her. But because she didn't love herself, she couldn't feel that love. And you only feel what you're evoking in yourself. And when you, as an empath, when you evoke that frequency, that vibration, that emotion in yourself, then you can feel it in the other. So you can feel someone's love because it's a vibrational match to the love you're feeling for yourself, or the love you're feeling for life, or the universe, or just tapping into that love of who you are. I think the word love is a word that's completely misunderstood. G'day, Mish, how are you? I so struggle, she says. What else is she saying here, Kristin? I struggle with this. I feel like I'm a good person. Here we go. However, since my parents have passed, my whole family have shunned me. Relatives have passed, and not one family member has told me.
Well, you have to think what is family to you, and who is your family, and not everybody in my family, they're not all I like to say my person. They're not my people always. They are not into the spirituality I'm into, the same movies and things I'm into, and I have to go, am I going to keep trying to fit their box? Or do I get to stand in my own confidence and power and be myself? Because I'm more happy when I'm my own confident self, standing in my own likes, dislikes, things that I enjoy, and I find people that match that. When I'm trying to fit the box that my family created for me, because they sure did. You're the little sister, or the big brother, or the wherever you fall in the family. It's and then as I'm an adult, they're more my contemporaries than my mom and dad. They don't parent me any longer, right? So when do I get to just stand on my own? Although it is painful, Mish, I get it, because I've been there.
I'm going to go back to soul purpose. I'm going to go back to soul purpose.
Yeah.
So sometimes we choose a life because we're wanting to understand strength. So when we're in unity consciousness, we're unified. We're all one. We're all pure positive energy, and we can't pull out these aspects and really explore aspects of strength or courage or forgiveness, this is when we incarnate into an earth experience to experience those frequencies and really, dissect them and experience them and dive into them. And sometimes people come into this life because they really want to explore courage and the freedom to be who you are outside of the norm. And that can happen in the, gay community, the trans community, can happen with creative people. Like, as I talked about, Lady Gaga, and before her was Madonna, who was like breaking all the boundaries and being, creatively who they wanted to be in that moment and really exploring that creativity. That's why you couldn't imagine that they'd come out and say, yeah, I suffer with depression and I take a slew of pills. Like when Lady Gaga said that, I was like, what? Because they're breaking on that, exploring that part of life. And sometimes your soul plan is to do that. And often in the light workers community, we stand up for our beliefs, and our friends and our family shun us because they're not on board. But that purpose is, can you still love them? I did this the other day recently for my birthday. So I had a fight because my family think I'm crazy too. They put up with me and then they stopped putting up with me, some of them. And my, Catholic, very staunch Catholic sister-in-law stopped talking to me a few years ago because I had a fight with my brother. My brother's fine with it, but she's not fine with it. But dutifully, she'll send me a text on my birthday, happy birthday, out of duty, not out of love.
Right.
So I rang her, and they were in the car, and you heard the both of them. They answered the phone, and they were whispering with each other. She's called. Why do you think she's called? She's called. And I'm like, I can hear you guys. And my brother answered the phone, not my sister-in-law. I said, why are you answering Kate's phone? And he goes, oh, because we're in the car. And so I just had this normal conversation with them like nothing happened. She's holding the resentment. She's holding the I don't want to talk to you. I don't believe in who you are. And she's holding all that BS, but I'm not. And so like, how have you been? Like, just talk to them normally. And, so your family doesn't want to talk to you. But does that mean you don't talk to them? Like, just be who you want to be. If you want to talk to them, talk to them. Yeah. Talk to them, even though they're judging you. Stay in your strength, as you say, stay in your power. Be who you are unapologetically. Like, be the love that you came to be the strength, be the courage. And that sometimes that is your purpose. So when it really depresses you and upsets you and you feel ostracized and outside your purpose is to stand in your strength. This is something about Charlie Kirk. We were talking about Charlie Kirk last night too. Most people's idea of Charlie Kirk who don't really know him just see him as this misogynistic, evangelistic Christian who was a, what do you call it, when you don't like other races, and he was against gays and trans and against black people. And that's so not who he was. And there's so much of him talking about that. He said, I think race shouldn't exist. We should never employ people based on race or sexual agenda. It's nobody's business who you have sex with. Why bring it even into the conversation? But he unapologetically stood up for what he believes in and who he was. And he got a lot of judgment, like a lot of judgment, but it didn't stop him. And, maybe that was something that he came in here to do. Something that he said to me in the afterlife was that, can you stand up for what you believe in and still have conversations with people or debates with people who staunchly don't believe in what you believe in? So this is like our family. We might believe in the afterlife and spirit guides and ETs, and our family might say, you're crazy. I'm a Christian or I'm a Catholic. We don't believe in reincarnation, and we don't, and aliens are the demonic devil. You could have really different of opinion, but can you still maintain that unity and connection and conversation inside difference of opinion?
You said a word a few minutes ago that I had a conversation with a really good friend over yesterday, and you said judgment, and I feel that judgment is also a incredibly low vibration. And she had this insight or inspirational thought that, judgment in any form isn't good. Even if I'm looking at somebody like Lady Gaga or an ascended master, and I'm judging, I'm placing judgment that they're so much better than me. Well, then that's lowering myself.
Mhm.
Or if I'm judging that I'm better than somebody else, that's putting myself on a pedestal and judging them that they're lower than me. And so
Yeah.
judgment of all forms, right? And so when I do think about those in my extended family that, ostracize me, or, I'm tired of all her BS or whatever they
Yeah.
say, I just go, okay, that, it's funny
Yeah.
that offends you or bothers you, and you get to have that. I love you for you anyway, and I
Yeah.
have to find love in my heart and let it go, and not allow that to latch on to me. Because, when it comes to depression, I had an experience, and I found out that there was some extended family members talking a bunch of crap about me. And I found out later, and I found out what time it was at. And just so happens that at that same time, I got an incredible migraine out of nowhere that wouldn't go away. And a few weeks later, same thing happened, and one of those family members had come to my house when I wasn't there.
Oh,
And
wow.
and so it was like a validation that, it can affect, it can have an ongoing effect, those kind of judgments, or those kinds of things. And so it's my choice what I do when that comes, right? So do I disconnect? Do I let them go? What do I do with that? Right? Is my
Well,
choice.
well, the person that's judging, the person that's criticizing, the person that's holding the upset is the person in pain.
Right.
That's the person who needs the healing.
Hmm.
What we do is when people judge us or are angry at us, like, we ignore them. I'm never going to talk to that person. We push them out of our life because we say, you're causing me pain. You're upset. Your judgment is causing me pain. But as Byron Katie says, nobody can ever upset you. That's my job. I mean, as I said, depression is a conversation of the thoughts about me. So when
Right.
somebody else is judging you, you're only upset when you believe what they say or you start judging them.
Yep. And that's where I think judgment brings in so many of these negative things that we deal with. Depression, if I'm accepting their judgment, oh my gosh, I can't believe they say that about me. They don't even know me. And why would they say that? And, or am I what they're saying? Am I this horrible, whatever, no, I have to know myself better than they know
Yeah.
me. And who knows me better than me?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. It's like we can say, what are you talking about? I'm God. Reincarnated. I'm God. I'm love. I'm here to, like, I think it was Kat said, or was it Mish said, I know I'm a good person. Of course, we're all good people. We're all love. The matrix to life and afterlife and beyond is love. Remember we had Nancy Rhines on the show.
Years ago. Yeah.
Nancy Rhines was hit by a truck. She was my first NDE, one of the first YouTube videos I did on the show. And I totally messed up the text. So at the beginning of the show is all, and anyway, that got 60,000 views in the first 6 months, and 10 years later, it's still at 60,000 views.
Wow.
It's like YouTube decided to show it to 60,000 people and then stop showing it to people. Anyway, Nancy's been all over the place. She's had millions and millions and
Yeah, I've
millions of
met
views
her. Yeah.
with her
Beautiful.
story. And she was talking about the matrix, the architecture, the feeling of the afterlife, like what it's made of.
Hmm.
And the only word that she could come close to describing what she was experiencing was love. It's like it's made of love, and so are we. We are love. Like the matrix of that environment and me, like the structure of who I am is made from is love. Is love. Like even religion says God is love. So if God is love and we are God, then we are love. So that seeking love, like looking for love in the boyfriend or outside ourselves or the girlfriend, is the big mistake that we make. Instead of, if I am love, let me tune into that inside myself. And when you really practice tuning into the essence, the source, the stream, the consciousness of who we really are, of who you really are, then that knowing and living that knowing means that people can say anything about you and it never rocks you, because you understand, like this is what Byron Katie did when she had her epiphany, her awakening. I always say she woke up dead. She doesn't use that vernacular, but she woke up in that same frequency that so many people who have NDEs talk about, but she's physically in the body, not even identified with her body. She's looking in the mirror and she's thinking, who's that person looking back at me? Like no attachment to identity, but in this spaciousness of pure bliss. And she had this epiphany in that moment that she had to suffer depression for 10 years. And her family had put her in a facility, and she said she felt so bad about herself she didn't even want to sleep in the bed, so she slept on the floor. And she realized in that moment of waking up dead, waking up in that same frequency of who we are as source energy, is that every ounce of that depression came from believing her stressful thoughts. It was such a simple formula for her. If I believe my stressful thoughts, then I suffer. If I don't believe them, then I don't suffer.
Yeah.
It's just that easy. I love the simplicity. Esther Hicks, the law of attraction and deliberate care. It's so simple. I remember coming back in 2004 from a cruise with them and thinking, God, deliberate creation is so simple. Just be happy.
Yeah.
And everything will come to you, right?
Yeah,
Not
come
so
on, just
simple.
like that.
It's like, okay, be happy. That's the formula. Be happy and everything will come to you. Okay, so how do you be happy when you're believing your stressful thoughts? And so challenging those stressful thoughts. And this is what I practice. And this is what I was practicing during that time of my breakup, the first breakup with my second husband. I was practicing the stressful thought. I thought that was taking me down was I want my husband back. But the thought was I'm a failure and I can't do what I came here to do. And that was such a potent lesson for me. If you're not on purpose, on fulfilling your life plan, then depression will be the indication of that. So what is the thought? Let's find the thought that's pinpointing. If you're here to be love and then to teach love, and you're looking for love and you can't find it, and so you feel depressed because you can't find the love, then that depression is your indication that you're actually here to be love, not to look for love. Yeah.
I have a practice that I do when I'm getting caught up in that I'd like to share if that's okay. And I learned it one way, and then it comes in. I learned it another way in another place, but it's how I do it. So when I became a Reiki master, the practice was that I wasn't a full master until I did 21 days straight of channeling, spirit writing is what I call it. A channeling, connecting in, and channeling my higher self. And what message does my higher self have for me today? And I had to do it 21 days in a row, and then I had completed the training. But a couple years later, I've learned another practice that is so similar. And I was in some group meditation kind of thing, and the facilitator said, there's this thing in the Elizabeth Gilbert book. I don't remember which one, but she does a similar thing where she says she gets out pen and paper and she meditates or connects in or what have you, and says, what would love have me know today? And when I do that practice, I know that my heart brain, my love, that connects me to love, source, the love of myself. And I get the message from myself to myself that is telling the truth. What does love have to teach me today? And it is myself, and it is my love, and it is me. But I can, because I'm already caught up in that spiral, stepping away from it and having a conversation basically with myself, but my higher self or that love, that works for me. And I just write it out, and I often don't even read it again, but I'll read through it and I'll be like, yeah, there you go. That's what it is. That's what's catching me up. And it,
what would love have me know today? I love it. What would love do now? In the Conversation with God books, God through Neil asks us to, what would love do now? What would love say now? What would love have me know today? I love that, because, last time when we were talking about Jesus, Sananda, Yeshua. When I hear the Christian, dogma, the Christian stuff, when they say Christ says this and Christ is the only way, and I want to swap out the word Christ for love, because Christ is a person and he lives outside yourself, and he died 2,000 years ago. Like, he's a dude, right? But he came as a teacher of love. He came to remind us that we are love. And not that they're wrong in what they're saying, like Christ is love and Christ says this, and I put my faith in Christ and I'm now a believer of Christ. Like, why can't we put your faith in love and be a believer of love? Love is such a better word than Christ, because Christ is the person and love is you. Love is us. Love is me. Like, love is who we are. So when you say I put my faith in love, then I put my faith in myself. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to say that to Charlie when he was alive. It's no fun saying it to someone who's already passed over, because they know that. It's kind of no fun.
It's like when I feel my hubby.
No debate.
It's when I feel my hubby around. I only feel the good parts of him. I don't feel about the parts about that used to make me mad or drive me nuts. Like,
exactly.
And
you can't have the debate with them when they're in the afterlife. They're going to agree with everything.
Yeah, because they're like, "What? I just love you, and you're beautiful." And I'm like, "Well, what about that time you were mad at me?" Because they don't live in that. They don't live in that. So
we haven't done a station ID break. Okay, so you're listening to KAren Swain and Kristin Mismash. We are on Elevate on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM. And today we're talking about soul plan. What is your soul plan? So how do you define your soul plan? What is your purpose for being alive? Like, what's the purpose of your life? And how does depression dovetail with that? And we discussed how we have an emotional guidance system. So the more excited and ecstatic you feel, then that's your emotional guidance system saying you're fulfilling your soul plan, or you're on the path. And then the more depressed you feel, that's an indication that you're telling yourself something that you're not, and that you're not on your soul path. So we all come into this world of contrast and polarity and opposites to dive through the contrast. Like, we challenge ourselves. Can I really explore the denser realms, the denser energies, and still remember that I come from love? And that's the challenge I give myself when I have a physical earth life experience. And some of us just get so stuck in the dense energies that they completely forget their love, and then they challenge themselves again. Oh, I forgot. Can I remember next time? Can I remember next time? Can I explore the denser energies but still remember that I am love? And so the soul plan, your purpose on life, I remember, Bashar says, follow your highest excitement, and Walt Whitman said, follow your bliss. And so we've discussed how following passions and excitement of passions doesn't necessarily mean it's your soul path. I remember, reading about this in books when I was in my 30s. And I think in the Conversation with God books, they were saying something similar. And I was following passions, like passions of creativity and design and things that I was passionate about and I was excited about, but I still didn't feel like I was fulfilling my purpose here on earth. But the thing that turned me on the most, and it wasn't like I was jumping up and down and saying this is my highest excitement, but it was the thing I wanted to do the most, was just like, leave me alone. I just want to sit in bed and read these spiritual books. Do you want to come out and party and have a good time? No, I want to sit in bed and read these spiritual books.
I feel a little guilty of that one.
Like, I love people and going out and partying. Like, I loved it when I was young. You could never get me at home when I was younger. But then that passion, that highest excitement of reading about spirituality took over my passion for going out dancing and talking to people. And that no longer fulfilled me, but sitting at home alone reading my spiritual books did. And then I read, like, the thing that you're most excited about is what you're meant to do with your life. Like, it's your purpose. It's like, how does reading spiritual books help anybody? Like, I couldn't put two and two together. Like, how does that help? I don't get it. Like, how could that be a job? Or it just didn't make sense to me that could be a job in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, a friend of mine has a son who she used to get frustrated with because all he wanted to do was watch movies. and didn't want to go out. And then he, years later, like when he was in his 30s or even in his 40s, he moved to Hollywood and he works in the movie industry. But he spent 20 years watching movies. So he didn't want to go out and party and do things with his life. He wanted to sit and that was his purpose. That's the thing he wanted to do the most. Some people, you know, talk about their kids being on computers all the time playing video games and they get obsessed with it and they should get off the screen, and then they become developers and they develop, you know, new technology and stuff like that.
I, as a parent, I always sat in like, ooh, I can't wait to see what my kids are going to be, not like, oh, I want them to be this, that, or the other. And all I did was all I did as a parent was work to foster an environment where they could explore those things. And, you know, so my oldest child, who, you know, was into computers and always got in trouble in high school for hacking into the mainframe and everything, you know, is a computer genius and builds computers from the ground up. And
there you go. Exactly.
You know, and all those kinds of things. And so, yeah, it is interesting to see what it is that, you know, because a lot of people, I was just talking about this with a girlfriend last night, you know, that's what I'm in the middle of. I am not working for any other company any longer. I'm working for myself and I'm building up my own business. And it, like, people have said to me for years, whenever you talk about that, that just lights you up. Like, you're glowing right now. Do you know you're glowing right now? And I go, no, I'm just talking about, it'd be so cool to be able to, you know, have this and that and do that. And yeah, and I'm doing it now.
There you go.
You know, but it takes time sometimes, or not. But it's my bliss, you know, and I trust that the universe knows that this is, you know, this is where I'm supposed to be and this is what I'm doing, so things will align. It's like for you, Karen, you know, you do have some things that are provided for you. I recall you saying, you know, you asked the universe to support you, and this is your call, your bliss. This is all of your spiritual reading manifested, and now you're living it and have, you know, made it into, you know, what brings you joy, it seems, you know, talking to your mom and teaching us all.
Interestingly enough, I've become a sort of like an old grumpy person, because I find that most people's conversations, when people are just endlessly talking about themselves and their problems, or like my girlfriend the other day, God, I love her to bits, but she wanted to talk about Nicole Kidman's divorce. And I'm like, really? That's what you want to talk about? Like, I don't want to talk about that shit. Like, I get really impatient with people wanting to talk about crap. I do. And the only thing that really lights me up is the conversations I have on the shows, whether it's with a guest or you, or because that's what I'm interested in. And I indulge people as they rabbit on endlessly about what they ate at the restaurant and, you know, celebrity crap and their problems. Like, I indulge people, but I'm not interested in it anymore. And as I get older, I become more impatient. Like, I don't want to discuss that. Like, I just shut my girlfriend down the other day. She was pissed off at me. I don't want to talk about Nicole Kidman's divorce. I'm so not interested in that. She's like, but I am. I'm like, talk about it with somebody else then.
I love to read and have loved to read since I was a small child. And I've been in several book clubs as an adult. And in recent years, it's been like 10 years since I've read a work of fiction. And it drives my one daughter crazy, who works at, you know, Barnes and Noble, the big bookstore chain here in America. And she's like, Mom, you got to be reading fiction. And people are like, well, come join our book club. Well, what are you reading? You could suggest books. And I'm like, you guys are all a bunch of atheists. You don't want to read like what I'm reading, Dancing on a Stamp by Garnet Schulhauser. I'd love it if you read it, because then we could talk about it. But, you know, and so I'm funny. I don't want to waste my time reading a story about somebody else unless it's magical or spiritual. Like, I'm kind of grumpy about what I read.
Absolutely.
And my stack of books, my to be read stack, on both sides of my bed are all these spiritual books, you know, of all my friends write them, and I learn and I want to integrate it all. And recently I watched a documentary about
Jane Goodall, who's just left the planet, bless her
I
heart.
watched it. The one where she talks with the...
Well, there's quite a few documentaries, and I was on Netflix or one of the streaming platforms, and I watched 2 of them back to back. And in one of them, I think it's the one called Hope. It's not the one so much about her life in the beginning and with the apes. It's about her activism. She talks about going into centers where all the caged animals are that are being experimented on for the medical industry with drugs, and they're using chimpanzees to test drugs. And all the animal activists were really angry at her for going in there and not, screaming and yelling and trying to burn them down, just participating in it and talking to the apes and stroking their hands and stuff like that. But at the end of her tour through the facility, where there are just hundreds and hundreds of caged animals, she showed the video. This is going to make me cry. She showed the video of her interacting with the apes. And she talked about how human they are and their names and their personalities, and showed how human they are and what their likes and their dislikes and their relationships with each other. And the people working in the facility, the scientists, were watching this with their eyes and mouths open, going, I had no idea. I had no idea animals were that, sentient, that human, that conscious. They just saw them as these things that they could experiment on, and if it killed them, it killed them, and if it hurt them, it hurt them. They had no connection to that sameness, really. And so she educated them, not by hating them or making them wrong, but just by showing them her work. Oh, it makes me cry.
Yeah. I get there too.
That's such a beautiful form of activism, to go, and this is, again, I keep coming back to Charlie, to go inside the enemy camp, so to speak, and not make them wrong. Like to go inside the book club and suggest a spiritual book and have them read it and then discuss it, rather than saying, you read stuff I'm not interested in. Like, I'm going to come and be a part of you, but I'm going to suggest this book and we're going to talk about it. Like, not make them wrong, but just introduce your ideas to them and make them think differently. And that was a great, that part of, I have to say, as she got older, she became a little less patient with people, because she was out there saying how horrible Elon Musk is and how horrible Trump is, and she was quite vocal about how she disagreed with people. But when she was younger, instead of disagreeing with them, her activism was just like, let me show you what I've discovered.
There's a new I don't know when it was released, in the last couple of days on Netflix, and it's Jane Goodall, Famous Last Words. And it was recorded, I think, last May, and with the agreement that it wouldn't be released till after she passed. I don't know if this is a series they do, but there's some really cool spiritual connections in there too, where she talks a little bit about her own spirituality. That's my word for it. But her own spirituality from reading near-death experiences and studying stuff like that, and her own experience with loved ones that have passed over, But it's about an hour. It was really good. I like that one too. I've always admired her and the way that she changes minds peacefully that way. I just beautiful. She was an inspiration for me, for sure.
So for those people listening to this, what is your soul purpose? What is the thing that lights you up the most? It's not like you jump up and down and scream and yell about it, but it's the thing you want to do the most. For some people, that's music. For some people, I remember a girlfriend, when we were young, our generation was like, we're not going to get married and be chained to a kitchen sink. We're independent women. We're going to have careers and make our own money. That was definitely me and my girlfriends. And one of my girlfriends who felt like that, when she got married and had kids, she was like, my purpose on life is to be a mother. Like, I'm interested. She's an intellect. She went to university, came from a highly intellectual family. But she got a job as a librarian, and she's been there for like 30 years and raised her family. But she knew once she had children, that was her purpose, that she was here to be a mother. And even though she was highly intellectual, her mother, interestingly enough, is so interesting. I'm a kid. I'm in the kitchen washing the dishes one day after having dinner. It was a conservative Catholic family, and her mother opened up, as many people do, to me, even when I was a child, this is a stoic woman that really said nothing. When I say said nothing, you know, she was an intellect. And she said to me, just the two of us in the kitchen one day, I never wanted to be a mother. I looked at her and she's got like 6 kids, 8 kids. I'm like, you didn't? She said, no, I wanted to have a career when I was young, and I wanted to, you know, further my intellectual studies, but that wasn't, you know, for women of our generation, that wasn't done. And so I settled for getting married and having children, but I never really wanted it. And so this woman is opening up to this child, telling me this is not what she wanted. Oh, we've run out of time. So she didn't follow her soul path. She did what, but she did bring beautiful children into the world.
But wait, can't she follow her soul path after having children? See?
Yeah, she did. She was a big member.
Because that's what I'm doing. Come on.
Exactly. She was a big member of the Art Gallery of New South Wales. She was on the board, and she did a lot of her things. She wanted to be an architect. She wanted to pursue that. And I think, did one of her kids become an architect? I can't remember. One became a doctor, one a lawyer, you know, they're all different. They're all very academic. We've run out of time. Thanks, everyone. Passion. What are you saying, Shirley? Passion versus obsession. Obsessed. Passionate versus obsessed. Yeah. I seem to be obsessed about saving seeds. Saving, loving and sprouting seeds. There you go. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kristin. Big love to you.
Goodbye, everybody.
And for people listening to this, what do you want to talk about next time? Send us your questions or something you want to explore more next time. Or we can go over things that we've been over before. Soul purpose, depression. We can go over soul plan, timelines. Laurie Spagna is the girl that's coming on the show in a couple of weeks. Laurie Spagna, and we're going to talk about collapsing timelines. That's going to be fun. Big love. Thanks, darling. Bye for now. Ciao.